My name is Judy Fox, and I serve as the program manager for the Los Angeles Regional Consortium, commonly known as LARC, which represents all 19 community colleges across Los Angeles County. Today's AI professional development session, Building AI Agents with Google AI Studio, is a collaborative effort made possible through the partnership of LARC and the Los Angeles County Office of Education, and it's in collaboration today with Eduvators launching new dimensions of learning. We're also incredibly grateful for the coordination and the vision of the LARC AI and Innovation Professional Development Task Force, whose work continues to explore and plan AI education and workforce training opportunities for our education and industry stakeholders. And leading today's session is none other than Dr. Raina Walsinger, who's the Technical Director of Eduvators and recently announced recipient of the 2025 EdTech Trendsetter Award. So congratulations, Raina.
Thank you.
And without further ado, I will turn it over you to kick off today's training.
Awesome. I'm going to share my screen over yours. All right.
One last thing, sorry. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to drop them into the chat, and then periodically we'll reach out to Raina and make sure that those get answered. And we'll also be dropping a feedback form in the chat for you as well that will give us permission to reach back out to you with links to today's training sessions and future opportunities. So thank you, Raina.
Thanks, everybody. It's going to be a wild and crazy hour here, but I'm going to try to go slow and then share some things that are pretty new for you. Just a little bit about my background, Dr. Raina Walsinger. I teach at Saddleback. I'm also a faculty at Golden West. I've been in the system for I think feels like my whole adult life, teaching digital media and now AI and technology at Saddleback, and which is very, very popular. It's been an amazing run just to start. I made a company. I was the chief academic officer at a very large AI XR company called Eon Reality, where I learned how to kind of bring my bioengineering skills back into the workforce. I started during the very beginning of the pandemic, and then learned how to use AI from the very beginning when ChatGPT first gave industry a chance to code our apps. So I started to realize that it's a good time to think about how to use this in education. And then when AI became public, I realized we can do this and kind of separate ourselves from EdTech and do a lot of stuff ourselves and have the autonomy and the power to create content ourselves without buying expensive apps like the company I was working for. So I set out to democratize learning about how to do this. And that's why I started Eduvators, which is a very small little partnership of three of us that are instructors and have been admins, and to curate, learn, and share what we know with everybody, and then how to incorporate that into your Canvas LMS or wherever you want to use it across the school. So feel free to drop questions in the chat. I wanted this to be a really great learning opportunity. So if you're getting lost or I'm going too fast or you have a question, drop something in there and Judy will interrupt me with getting those questions in. So I'm used to that, as I teach every week. So Google AI Studio, why did I choose this? If you go to eduvators.net later, you'll see there's a lot of workshops on, all the apps you've heard of, but this one is different. And so I thought it'd be kind of a good one to do a webinar on. I'm not going to just stick in here. I'm going to be doing the Google ecosystem, which is amazing how it all works together. And it kind of surprised me how they've developed this ecosystem with their different apps. So this one is a way to develop applications and test things, and also to make your own applications and host them. And we'll have a whole nother workshop, probably another time. I hold them on how to do hosting and GitHub and Netlify and things like that. So, but I'm going to show you how to make them and what's possible in here. And so let me just go over what this is. So it's a studio. This is a very important thing at the very top, get API key. What that does is it connects anything you do to Google things. So like Google Maps is a good one, Gemini, Google Search, YouTube. So a lot of the questions that we're going to make in these apps they all need that API key, and that key will connect to those other things. So the first thing I did when I was preparing for this, or before when I was learning this, is I have an API key for myself that it's using to get to the apps. I'll need that key when I host this to the public. So that's something that you can look at later. This is also very important. There are different models in here that you can pick from. This one is free, which is why I'm using it right now. It's Gemini 2.0 Flash. You can see the input and output as it's calling those APIs. It's calling Google Maps or calling YouTube or whatever. It costs $0 at the moment, but you always need to check for these costs because the companies do change them. So it does definitely change. So, and then there's all these different things that you can choose from. So they get to be very expensive. If you go to like video generation, that's the most expensive one. It doesn't even let you pick. I think they just only let you do a couple things. So when you pick these different sections, you get different choices. So starting on chat, it's good to just look at all these and see what they cost. Gemini 2.5, you can see is very expensive. That's why I mentioned checking these out. It's it says less than or equal to 200,000 tokens. It's expensive, right? It's $1.25 to input. That's you doing stuff. And then when it outputs something, it could go up to $10 for that. So,
Randall,
yeah.
what's meant by experimental?
So experimental means this app is for testing your applications, but you still need to go fix the code or whatever later if you're going to be hosting this in the public. So it's not like the front end of Gemini. So Gemini is not experimental, but Google AI Studio is a testing environment to create apps.
Thank you.
That's what that means. So it may not be perfect, which is the case for most of these coding apps, where if you went to like Gemini, it doesn't say that, but it's so that all the Google AI Studio stuff and Google Labs, in fact, say it's experimental. The models, they don't all say experimental. So I can go to like Gemini 2.0 Flash, that's not experimental. This one that is experimental, though, it does images and text, so I'm using that one right now for me. So there's a really great way to learn this, and the way that I learned it, first I watched a lot of other people doing it, but first thing to understand is what these do. So I picked a model that can output images and text because I'm going to be doing that with applications. They don't all do that. Some of them just do images. The token count, this is how many tokens I'm using, and my temperature is how it's adhering to a prompt. So if you want it to like go crazy and imagine stuff, then maybe you move it up to 2. If you want it to be exactly what your prompt says, you move it to 0. But Google itself recommends keeping the temperature on 1. That's a common kind of slider for any coding app. Advanced settings, this is very important for us in education. So you can turn on any of these things so that it never generates these things. I have them off right now as I'm kind of developing apps, and then I'll turn them on if I put anything into production. So that's there. That's really, really good. Stop sequences and output length, that has to do with if you want to limit people using your tokens, if you're making something like, hey, I made something to create images, but you don't want to spend more than like $20 a month or something, you can add a stop sequence or a stop token length. So we're not going to worry about any of those right now because we're just going to learn how to use this. And then if you ever do this and you host it in Google or you host it somewhere else, but you use the API key, you can go back and limit those things. The next important thing is on the left, these 4 things. You can do chat, which we're going to start with. You can do stream where you may have seen this on YouTube. It's amazing. I can share my screen and ask it how to do stuff. So, which is amazing because I've been teaching how to do stuff for 25 years. Now I can go, oh, look at my Photoshop. Where's the button to do this and that? And so we'll do a little bit of that. It could also see me and tell me about my environment, and I can talk with it. Video generation in the AI world is the most expensive thing because it takes a lot of computer power to generate videos. So we will just look at some preview stuff. I don't know if we're going to have time to generate, but it's called Veo 2, which is the model that Google has developed. It's fantastic. It's expensive to use. I do have a pro account. So, but still, it's an more expensive thing to do video in the AI world in general. And starter apps. So we're going to look at how to use these and some that I made. So I have a section called Your Apps that we'll look at. So let's start with chat. There is a prompt gallery, so I super recommend. And if you're on your computer or you have something, another device or even a phone, you can follow along. It might help out. So when you click the prompt gallery, you get tons of ideas on things that you can do with Google AI Studio to make something like analyze a research paper. So these are identify your plan. So it's really good. You might have things in mind, like I want to make an app to do scheduling classes or to review my homework or develop Canvas modules or anything that you want. So these are just ones that it the ones that it has as a starter. So let's pick one. And this is why I pick images and text. So explain this. So when I'm going to run the model. So what I'm doing is running the code that comes with it. This is what's different because I'm in a testing environment. So I've got this right angle triangle and it's understanding the Pythagorean theorem and then explaining step by step. So now from there, I could make it more complicating, say combine that with maybe more theorems and geometry or combine it with other things in math and then have that as an instruction. So anything that I do, like solve a hard problem in geometry. So let's see, anything that I type there, I can run it and see how the code that it is in this test chat comes out. So then I'm running one here that's, oops. So quadrilateral, ABCD. So all this is doing is running a prompt. Now I can do it. So it's called Solve Geometry. It titled it for me. I can see the code that it's writing. I can I can also see the text that it generated. I can actually have two apps next to each other and compare them. And then I can download this whole thing. So, so it's pretty easy to do these different chat apps. And so what I usually do from here is I download the whole thing and then I can run it. And I can run it anywhere. So if I download it, I can run it on my computer. But if I want to share it with everybody else, I need to host it on a website. And I personally use GitHub and Netlify to do those hostings. And that's a whole nother story. But all of these, it's saved. This is the Google ecosystem. It saves everything to Drive. So I connected it earlier to my Google Drive. And if I go to my Google Drive, I can see all of these things I'm creating in addition to in my library. So that's the ecosystem that this works in. It's pretty awesome. So I can go back to chat and I can do like a new one. So type something or pick one from the prompt gallery. So maybe I like the story with images, but let's do something similar. Generate a story with my dog, Bijan Frise, puppies, and algebra. This is kind of a good way to teach different learning styles, visual learning, auditory learning. So it'll come up and do this math problem with Bijan Frise. It should give me images too. Let's see what it comes up with. Images. Let's see if it'll run that. There we go. So it's going to come up with the story on this math problem and then solve it with images and all this text. So what you can do then is just share that chat, and then you could have that as like a little chat that you do in class. So that gives you some options here. You can edit everything in here. You can rerun it and more options. You can copy the whole thing and share it, and you can copy the whole app. So so chat's pretty simple. What I recommend is just going from the prompt gallery or doing things with these first to see what it looks like. Because it's already, someone's already done a prompt, so you can kind of get used to how does it prompt and what's the output look like. And see how fast it's creating information there. It's really great. So, and then, so now you have this code, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky, where I can copy all of this and host it somewhere. And I'll show you an example of something that I hosted right now, just so you can see that this is real. Let's see. Maybe, and then we'll just stop for questions and we're starting. This is one that I'm hosting, and I'll show you how I did this, where it goes through mitosis and goes through the different phases. So this is an app that I made to explain mitosis with words and pictures. And so you can see on the top of my screen, it's running right now from my desktop in this folder. So all the folders, that Python script and everything you saw is in a folder with the API key. So to host it somewhere else, then I need to upload it to, like I said, GitHub or somewhere else with that key to host it. So right now I'm locally hosting. So I can host anything I want, which is a brand new skill for most of us educators, unless you're in like a computer science programming thing, which I'm not. So and the other way is, I love this. You can add anything from your Google Drive. So let's say I want to do an app on, like one of the things I teach about AI apps. So I can have a drive that's like, here's a page on all the apps I want people to learn about. And then the prompt can be, tell me about Gemini, or tell me about Midjourney, or tell me about ChatGPT. And so I can have files there. Sometimes I use this for policy. So I'll upload ed code or things from my college that I'm teaching at, and then I'll ask questions about that, and it'll all be there. And I'll have an app that's like, policies and procedures or ed code or something like that. I can also just talk to this, or use a camera, add media, images. And when you add information into these, they work much better, because it's kind of it's putting stuff that you want to see on top of Gemini. So it still has a Gemini library of, billions and trillions of things, but it starts with what you're providing it for information that you want it to work off of. So let me pause there for a second and see if there's any questions.
Yes, there is a question. If I share my chat, what my students need to have to be able to see my chat?
So
What do students need?
they're going to see your chat on the website. So like, here's one that I made. So they don't need anything, just a link. So they'll have, if it's like that mitosis one, the same thing, you can host it on the web. So they just need a link in their Canvas, or if you're using Google Classroom for K-12.
Yeah, but you put that in GitHub. What about if I just put share on my chat? Can they look at it? Can they see it?
There's another on here.
Yeah, if it's share chat.
Only if you probably wouldn't be able to do that, because they'd have to be part of your personal Gemini or Google AI Studio, which, so it doesn't really work that way. So like,
okay.
yeah, so these are apps that we're creating apps. So I'll show you where you can do that in what's called Gems. But in this case, this is creating an app and hosting it. So that's what's different about AI Studio, is you're creating an app and then you'd have to host it. So I'll get to Gems in a little bit, but that's a really good question. So the ones that I create, I host them on, like I said, on GitHub.
We
So
have one, oh, sorry. We have one more question from Vincent.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have a question, Dr. Wolzinger, but more of a clarification. I just want to make sure that I'm understanding this. So this Google AI Studio is this platform to allow us to kind of build some sort of application to automate something that maybe we're doing for one of our courses or what have you. And then, post it maybe in Canvas, or, host it somewhere where students are facing.
Yes. That's how I do it. So there'll be like a little thing. It'll be like, oh, go here to see my whatever app I'm making, and then it'll just be a link and it'll go to it. And so they don't come in here, because you don't want them in here. This is a testing building environment. So it's, like I said, there's another place I'm going to show you in Gemini where you can do something similar but simpler. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But yes,
Excellent. Yeah. Thank you for answering that. And then just a follow-up question, if you don't mind. The Google AI Studio, I presume, is just one platform where this is done, and there are probably other ones on the market.
Yes, I use a lot of you have probably heard of Windsurf. Windsurf is I think OpenAI has offered $3 billion to buy it, and it has a prompt box as well, and it codes, and I do the same thing. I host my index.html file and the CSS files in GitHub, and then I share it out. So, and this works with that. I can make code and put it there and correct it. That's like beyond what we can do in an hour here. If we did like a 8-hour workshop, like literally we could go through all of that, but the Windsurf is the most popular one. This one is a little bit easier to use. It's a little bit more user-friendly and automatically gives you the API key and saves your stuff in Google Drive. So you don't have to set all those directories up manually, which I do that, but that's more complicated. So I thought we'll work with this today.
And then two super quick, can you bring Notebook LM in from here? And once you create an app using a paid service like this, if you stop the subscription, do you still own the content?
Okay, so if you take your credit card out, your API will break. So you'll still have the app, but it won't probably work without an API. In this case, it's not a subscription. It's like you have to, this is the way industry does it. This is the way I did in industry. You have like $20 or something on a credit card, and it deducts as people use your app. That's how apps work on the industry side. So we're kind of opposite of being on the consumer side at the moment. So yeah, you'll have all the coding for your app, but you'll have to get an API and run it some other way if you don't have that API working. It's probably confusing, but I'm going to show you some apps that I made. So I'm not going to go in order because this is kind of the next cool thing. So there's starter apps, and this is ones that were coded and made, and I'll show you mine in a minute, but super cool stuff. Video Toys that's how I made the mitosis one. All you do is you put in a YouTube link, and then it makes a game out of the video. So there was a video I found on what's mitosis, and so I put that YouTube link in there, and it generated the whole app. So you can do it. So if you're explaining things in your classes, or you want, you can just this is what I do. I downloaded the app, and all those files I'm talking about that I can host, just go in your Google Drive or on your directory. And what I did here is you can copy the app. So I did copy it, and let me go back to here. So on my apps, because I have my little dog, I just changed the app around. So this is, again, the development thing. All I did, though, is I didn't do any coding. I'm like, okay, I just want to explain things using my dog. So I went in here and looked for any time it said cats and changed it with tiny Bichon Frise puppies. So not knowing any of this, that's all I did. It does give me these files. So just for you people here that are coders, these files all will get dumped in a directory, and the HTML and the CSS and the API key is what you need to host outside of your own computer. So all you have to do, but it gives it to you in a drive, so you don't have to like copy it yourself. So once I did that, now it'll run the app with my little Bichon Frise puppies. So I thought that kind of blows my mind because I don't even know like how to code that well. And then I just changed one thing, and then it did that. So like I've never seen this, but it's running it right now in front of us. That one didn't come out. So it's explaining neural networks with Bichon Frises and cats. So and all I have to do to copy it is download it, and then I can host it locally, and then that's it. So very simple. Does it work with Google LM? I don't know if that gives you the code, but we'll go there and look. From Windsurf, I could go in there and add something I coded and dump it in here as well. So that's another way you can do things. So that's the video one. Let's see, what else did I make? So I made it lets you copy any of their prompts. So it's a good way to learn. So I copied this one. So it's kind of like what my computer looked like in the 90s. If you remember GemSweeper, it actually works. So that's another app. And this is the code for that's hosting it. So It's not saying you need to be a coder, but this is the environment where you can test these kind of apps. This is maybe my favorite one because I've made flashcard makers, but this works so well. And I can just copy it and have it for my class. So I can just say, make flashcards about recording microphones. And it just works. So there we go. And they're like, of course, I'm a teacher, so I got to make sure they're right, but it's pretty awesome. So you could generate flashcards on like a lecture or whatever. And all I need to do to share that with my students then is download the whole thing. And then, like I said, the hosting is a separate issue from here because now you got to learn how to host apps, which it's another, like I said, it's another training, but that's what I can do. So I can make anything. I can make a flashcard generator that's specific to my class. I can upload like a lecture or whatever, and then have it do that. So anything that I want to do. So the apps that's what it's kind of made for. This is a beautiful one. So like, let's explore London. So this is a good demo of how the API works. Okay. I had this hiccup yesterday too. That's fine. And then it did it later. I don't know why. My API is not going to the maps. There it goes. Okay, so the API is calling Google Maps. It's saying, okay, this app wants to do explore the city, and then it gives me information from Google Maps about it. So the code that it wrote is about using the API calling maps and then giving information. Or I can make like a day planner and then run it again. It'll give me like a plan for the day. Maybe, or maybe not. That's the experimental part. It's not working.
We have a question. Can we create a project or folder here? For example, stuff belongs to one course versus another?
Yeah, you can just make these. So you can make different apps, or you can upload folders from different classes, but each app is going to have whatever you put into it, right? So it's up to you whether you want a separate app for each lecture, or you probably wouldn't. You just want to put all your lectures in one thing and make one app for that class. That's what I would do anyways. Okay, I'm going to move on. So this is the one that kind of blew away everybody on YouTube. You can pick your voice and your language, which is amazing. And I think there's a lot of language. They keep adding them, but there's quite a few there. You can then just turn on your share screen. So I'm going to share my Canva and talk to Google. Hey, Google.
Okay, how can I assist you?
So I'm over here in my Canva and I want to edit this video. Like, how do I add more elements? And it's about education. Oh, you guys can't see that. Hold on a minute. I need to share my whole screen. Hold on. You couldn't see that, right? Let me share my whole screen.
Thank you. Now that I can see your whole screen, are you still looking for help adding elements to your education video in Canva?
Yeah, so you see my Canva here, and here's my Canva. So I see there's a bunch of things on the left. How would I add elements?
To add elements, you can click on the Elements tab on the left side of the screen. After doing this, you can search for different elements in the search bar, or you can scroll through the different categories. Does that make sense?
It does. What do I do once I find something I like?
Once you find something you like, you can click on it to add it to your canvas. Is there anything else you need assistance with?
What does the audio do?
By clicking the audio button on the left panel, you can add music or sound effects to your video. Are there other elements of Canva that you'd like to learn more about?
Graphics.
Sure. If you click the graphics button on the left panel, you can add illustrations, icons, and animated graphics to your design. Do you have any questions about that?
How about adding music?
To add music to your video, you can click on the audio tab on the left side of the screen and search for a song that you would like to use. You can then drag and drop the song onto your timeline to add it to your video. Would you like me to explain anything further?
No, I think I got it. Thanks, Google.
You're welcome. If you have any more questions in the future, feel free to ask.
So for us in the creative world of people who are professors that teach software, this is probably the most mind-blowing thing in 20 years for us. So I've been teaching software for a lot, and yes, it can interact in all those languages I showed, Vincent. Good question. So you can have students, or you can actually save lecture time and just say, hey, your homework is to go have Google explain all the stuff on the tools, and then here's a simple assignment based on these tools that you need to learn about. You can teach them in class as well, but it's amazing because the tools now on the apps change daily and weekly, so you can always go and use Google to say, hey, can you explain this and that? And I'm not sure if it works 100%, but it's been really good so far. Let's stop for some questions.
Vincent, do you want to
How
expand on your
AI
comment?
can use software education, such as having
Oh,
Google
sorry.
explain tools.
Google's still talking to me. Hold on.
Okay,
All right, Google,
Google-
we're done.
glad to hear you're done. Is there anything I can help you with regarding this project?
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no worries at all. I just think it's simply amazing. I'm just over here like a kid in a candy store, quite frankly. I love technology, and I'm just kind of mad I didn't know about this before. But I think about my ESL students, particularly Khmer and Spanish, in Long Beach, we have a large community there. And I think this can bridge the gap in terms of understanding particular assignments, assessments, and those types of things. So I think this is a wonderful tool. Thank you for showing us.
Yeah, I find it, like I said, mind-blowing that it can understand, what it's seeing. And even it can understand me. And sometimes that's important, because I have also ESL students and I also teach older adults. And sometimes they can't see or hear what I'm saying. And I'm teaching technology. So it'll be like this. I can just share my own screen and then they can talk about something I'm showing or holding. A lot of times I'm talking about the phone, or it could be like a device like an Amazon Echo that my senior audience uses for like alerts and stuff. So
Yeah,
it's
right. I didn't even think about the hearing impaired or the vision impaired. It kind of reminds me a lot of Microsoft accessibility tools. If you remember, they have the screen readers.
yes.
So I mean, it's just what an amazing find.
And so in the schools I teach in, we have a lot of Vietnamese speakers, Spanish speakers, and other speakers. And so it's, it's really great because when you're explaining tech tools in English, it's like impossible to remember what those are, what they're called even. They don't kind of remember. So, and I know that because I had to teach medical stuff in Spanish and all the nouns didn't make sense to me either. So I know it's very hard to catch on that way in a different language. Any other questions? So yeah, that's stream is pretty mind-blowing. Chat, video, Jen. Let's flip over to a couple things I know that are already mentioned on questions here. So Gemini has a different way of doing things. You may have heard of GPTs that OpenAI and ChatGPT have, where if you have a paid version, you can share stuff. Gem Manager is different, but the same. So you can make an app just by like going new gem and then just say whatever it is. Maybe let's do my same subject or let's do AI apps. And then instructions, explain, I am a college prof teaching about tech and AI. AI. Sorry, I'm not doing all the punctuation. Explain any app thoroughly. Okay, so I spelled that wrong as well. So once I do that, and now I can add files to this. So maybe on my lecture, I already have modules about ChatGPT and whatever that I have, and then I can save that gem. Okay, so now I created my own app just now. So this is a lot easier, and I can keep adding files to it. So I can like explain how gems work. Now, the way this works is it's for me, so I can make all these for me. And I think what they're going to end up doing is having a share button so you can like share it just like you can share Google Drive stuff. So, but this is a great way to learn really quickly how to make your own apps in a different way. It's part of the Google system and it'll save all your gems. So it's so easy and you can just go back and edit it. So they do have files that you've saved in the chat. They do have an edit. They don't have a share to everybody button. So that's, so right now what I'm doing for me is like, here's my gem manager, is I'm creating all these apps and I'm figuring in the options here, I can make a copy, but I don't think that lets me share it to everybody else. So what I'm thinking is that's once they get enough of these done, they're gonna allow you to share it to everybody else. But it's a really good way to make apps. I can still share these in class though, and just have other people make their own from there. So, but it's not like you can just it's not hosted online for everybody else to see. So that's the difference between Google AI Studio where you can make apps. This is you can make an app on your environment and use it. So maybe you want one that's like, I don't use it for grading because I grade my own stuff, but I use it for lecture content, special topics, things like that. So Gems is probably the easiest way of making a chat bot that I've ever seen, but the sharing is still coming along. Any questions on that? So we're all here going, what is this Google Lab stuff? And there's two things you got to see. One, I'm going to start with it, and then I'll get back to Google. Notebook is in here as well, but Career Dreamer. I've always thought in CTE that I teach that a lot of my students, including myself, have skills that don't seem connected. So this is an app that you can just get in for free and anybody can do it. So you can put in your role. So I'll just put teacher. And then education. So then it's going to ask me a bunch of questions about my Dreamer stuff. So what this does is it takes information that might not be related and then generates something that's very interesting. And I think this is, since I'm a teacher, this is amazing for students. So yeah, I know how to do all this stuff. So it'll like ask me about skills that I have and I can add and subtract. And now it's getting insights. And then it should ask me about what other stuff I do. So let's see if you can add more skills, music, performing. Add that in. See if it lets me do that. Select all. Okay, then it goes into here. Add interest. So I'm going to put this, add a couple things really quickly. Music, travel, sports. Just to confuse it, but that's my honest truth. So now this is where the magic happens. It's going to start thinking about what is all this stuff and what do I want to do with my life? I want to do that. So it gives an identity statement, which then you can go back and work on, like what are the things I want to do? And then here's where it cooks up your life in front of your face. So these are things that I might be interested in exploring. And it's pretty accurate for me. And you can see things that might not even be related, but this is why I like it, because a lot of us have interests that maybe our career and things overlap a little bit. So whatever you look at, it'll give you information and then all the, where to explore that more. So I think this is a really innovative way of looking at yourself and like making decisions. So like a lot of times, a lot of people ask me advice on like, where should their kid go to college? And this is a kind of thing like, well, what do you want to do with yourself and what's important? And so it takes into those personal factors along with your career and study aspirations and kind of puts them all together, and then you explore from there. So it's really good use of AI in there. The other one that is amazing in here is the notebook that I heard mentioned. So let's go there real fast. I probably passed it. So I'll just type it in Google. Okay. So on Notebook, I did one because this week I kind of freaked out with this higher education reform thing. So there's a button here called Discover, and I'm like, discover everything about this accreditation reform. So it gave me all these articles, and they're academic sources, and I can go check each one, but I saw when they come in, it gave me all the sources. And then I wanted to get like, I can get a little conversation about it. So it'll start talking about accreditation, or I can make like a briefing doc. And I was looking for a briefing doc because I wanted to see like what is changing and is that real, and like how is that going to affect how we do our classes. And if you know me, like I'm a data person, so this is like really important to me. And it goes through these all these things in all these articles that I got, and it can take up to 50 articles, and I can keep adding sources as well. So, and I can share this information as well. So this is shareable. Just like I can just copy the link and share it with anybody. I can share the article. I can share, let's go back to my studio. It's still generating that podcast. I can make a study guide. I can make a mind map. I can just play back an audio. That's another one. I think this has different languages, but I'm not sure. It might be in the settings. I'm not sure if I know it has different languages. I
I
don't know
think
what.
it's only English right now,
Okay.
and it's a 2 hosts.
Okay. Yeah, those 2 hosts that are, as soon as you hear someone's podcast. But I think that's a great way to study, because you could share that and then just have that in like a playlist somewhere. But my favorite thing is just the Discover button's brand new, and it'll discover from different sources. And then that's the vacuum cleaner mode, I call it, where you can put anything in their websites, YouTubes, everything in a doc. So if you're generating stuff about lectures, research, this is a great way to aggregate notes and get the AI to kind of look at common patterns or things that you want to just learn from that. And I think it's fantastic for research.
And Raina, we have a question in the chat. I use Notebook LM, but it's hard to share with students. Do you have any tips for sharing with students who do not want to share their personal Gmail?
Okay, so let's check it out. So if I was going to share, I can share with any email. So it doesn't have to be Gmail. So it's not asking me for Gmail, so it should be okay. Just click the share link.
Dr. Wolzinger, when I tried it, I shared it with my students, but it said that it did not share outside of it was not shareable outside of our network at Glendale College.
That's possible. If you generate a Glendale on a school network, then you might have every school has a different guardrails on their network. So
So
if
I'm
not
I
sure.
cannot create a shareable link. I have to put every student in that list, right?
I mean, it looks like the share is by email, so that's what I'm seeing. So
Okay.
yeah. So just in case, I'm sure most of you heard this, but let me just play 5 seconds.
Things are these accreditors actually looking at? What are in those standards?
They cover pretty much everything related to academic quality and student success. Things like faculty qualifications and how many there are.
Right.
The curriculum itself.
So that puts it in a little podcast format, which I think is good for people like me who remember stuff when I hear it. That's just the way my brain works. So, but yeah, this doesn't share. There's the only share option in here. So by email. So you could share the session. But what I do with my students is I show them how to use this. And then I'll say, here's a Google Drive with all my stuff that you can add to it and discover stuff on your own. And then I teach them how to create their own notes and their own study guides. And if we're doing career stuff, I'll have them generate a mind map and then look at options there. So, and I think let's see if that's shareable as well. That's generating. I don't know if you've seen it before, but it branches everything out. Yep, there we go. So I can go into all these different topics, and it'll keep sharing out this mind map.
Vincent, did you have another question too?
Yeah, not a question, but more of a comment. The mind map, first of all, I think it's a newer feature of Google Notebook LM, which I think is just an amazing tool. And Dr. Wolzinger, I like your use case here. I think that in my particular courses, what I do is I actually just show students how to use this tool, as opposed to me creating stuff and sharing my particular stuff with them. One of the other great use cases here is that audio overview or that podcast that it creates. What I'll do is in some of my courses is I'll take some of the content that they would naturally read through the particular module. I'll put it in here, create a podcast based off that. It's about a 15-minute podcast. And I'll actually post the audio file in my announcements. And so what students will do is they'll listen to that podcast on the way to class, and we can have a much more enriched conversation as we have lecture and dialogue in there. So that's kind of how I use this this tool right here. I mean, I've been using Google Notebook LM since they first, dropped it, but what an amazing tool.
Yeah, and it does let you share individual components, I'm just seeing, so you can share your podcast link. And then that way you can play back like on your phone, and like on I use whatever Bluetooth and it goes in my car. So individual components, you can share even that one you can't, but some of them have a share link for individual components. So like, or I can copy this and put it somewhere but it does have the citations that come up too. But the newest one that is this Discover, it's really powerful. You can put any topic in and it'll pull those sources in up to 50. And it does a really good job. Because before this, remember, it was only pulling like Wikipedia and stuff, but now it's pulling like all the stuff that you'd find in EBSCO or normal research places that we use in academics. So very powerful. So again, all these are really created in, in where we started out. And, somebody's in application like Windsurf or Google AI Studio, and then makes those applications and then host them so we can use them. They're hosted here in Google, but you can, as you can see, do almost anything. And it lets you, even in all these things that it does, it lets you make a copy of any app, and then you can use it yourself and host it. So you can use it, you can change it. So, I'm doing that all the time. And these starter apps are just so fun. So they have a copy key. So create app, I can copy everything. I didn't even get into this part, but this is a little bit more advanced. Things that if you're like a programmer, I usually just do the empty app and start with like telling it what to do.
Is that the Steve Anderson? Our host from the AI Summit in November, our hype man who came into
Judy.
Kendrick Lamar. Yes, Steve, do you have a question?
Yeah, with the notebook LM,
Yeah.
I saw where you showed where it can put voice to the source.
Yes.
With that voice, is it changeable? Like let's say if I give it a clip of my voice, could it use machine learning and taking my voice and do the audio using that?
I'm 100% sure that will be the case. Right now, they're using their voices, the two that are in there, which is super annoying. But another way you could do it, if you wanted to, you could take what it's pumping out, you can put it in 11 Labs and change to whatever voice you want, even your own.
Cool.
So I do that a lot. I don't like those voices. It won't. Yeah, and 11 Labs and HeyGen are the two places to go to for adding voices, different languages, and they have, I think, over 100 now in 11 Labs. And HeyGen will give you those avatar, realistic ones or kind of cartoon ones, whatever you want to use.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's like, why do they only have those two voices? Like, I don't know. Like, that's a drag right now. But it will generate the transcript, so you can grab it and just bring it over there. Yeah, it's a good question. Any other questions? There's a lot going on. I mean, just the fact that I can say with this YouTube link about mitosis, make an app, and it made this. And now I have this app. I mean, I didn't code anything. I just, that one, I think that might be my favorite one right now. And let's see, where was that? And it's just called Video Toys. I just go there, put the link in there and it makes the app. And then I just downloaded it to my desktop and I got a folder with the new app in it. That's it. All you got to do is paste one thing, or I guess main thing is finding the video. So that's, these are great. And you can, once you download them, you can host them and they they let you use them. You do need that API key to call to Google, because that's actually APIing to YouTube. So you do need that. That API key is not costing me anything. It's a little hint. In Google, if you go into Google AI Studio and I think it says when it doesn't say pro, and you click it, it lets you put in your edu address and you can have this free for 16 months. So
Wow.
might want to check that out. That's all.
Vincent?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to take all this space, but I think it's important for our conversation. Dr. Wolzinger, can you elaborate on, or could you just simplify the significance of the API key? I'm still not kind of connecting how the API key kind of fits into all of this, no pun intended.
Let's do this. This is the way I do everything. Let me go to Gemini. So it'll save it. Tell me.
Oh, right. I guess I could have did that too.
No, but I do this for myself so that it saves on the side.
Yeah, yeah.
So the API key, and again, coming from my industry side, is just a link to another thing. So like in our app that I was selling, it was to have an avatar walk around and teach you about how to use like a robotics arm or something. So the API key was going to another app called Sketchfab to bring the avatar in so it could walk around and move and all that. And so that was one API key. It went to OpenAI to go to there so we can have AI chatbot so someone can ask about that equipment. So that it's calling another app. And the reason it's great is because you're leveraging billions of dollars of stuff that's already been created. And you use this little key to just talk to it. It's almost like the LTI connection in Canvas. It's almost just like that. So that's basically an API call as well. So this probably gives better definition than I do. It's a straightforward path to generating. That's how to generate your key. So it's going to be talking to client libraries like Maps and other things that it needs to talk to. Now, you don't need an API key if you're not talking to Google. So like I have my AI tools app that I made. It's just me saying, make a website about AI tools and link to everything and make it accessible and colors and all of that. So I'm not calling anything, but if I'm going to be calling something, another app, in this case, they're Google apps because this is Google's environment. That's what the key is doing here. Now it gave me the key free. I just clicked it, but I think I had to put in a credit card, but I have free, I'm using the free, if you saw the free model, plus I have free Google Pro for a year or 16 months as well. So I'm not getting charged anything.
Well, thank you, Dr. Wolzinger. You have sparked some ideation, some enthusiasm, and I know people are excited to start playing with it. Kevin, could you please pull up our closing slide?
And before that, just real fast, if you go on eduvators.net, it'd be awesome if you can go on there for free. We have a ton of downloads about this stuff. There's some paid courses. You don't have to go and do paid courses, but there's lots of free stuff. And we are starting to roll out our certifications, which I personally grade with my 2 partners. So it's not autopilot. We actually really care about everybody learning this stuff. So that's it. I want to thank Judy for having me today. And I hope that was an interesting topic.
Yes, thank you so much. We did put a link to the feedback form in the chat. We have a QR code for you here. We would appreciate hearing more. As I also mentioned in the chat, we provided the on the Los Angeles RC website, you'll find our artificial intelligence training page, which has been linked, as well as a link to our next AI training session, which will be held on May 16th, which is AI is your study sidekick, smarter tools for better learning. So please make sure to register for that. And then we have one final question before we close out. Jamal?
Yeah, I was just asking it that if I have long videos, can I use one of these tools to create short videos of my lecture?
Absolutely. And there's AI ones that you can just tell it to look through your lecture and create short videos out of it. The CapCut is the most popular, but this week Meta came out with their own. I don't know what it's called. They're both free. So I highly recommend looking at those two tools where you can just put in your lecture and it'll cut it for you and make short videos.
So you say this CapCut?
CapCut. Let me put it here in the chat. And
Yes,
Meta came out with one as well this week, and I don't know what it's called yet, but
Yeah,
yeah.
Meta came out with one that's called Edits.
Edits, that's right. That's probably going to take over.
I believe so too, actually.
Yeah. So I love those. I'll be using them all over my social media since it saves a lot of time. And they caption for you, which is really important for us.
Thank you, everyone, for your time. We're going to close. We hope you have a fantastic Friday, and we look forward to seeing you at future trainings.
Thank you, Judy.
Thank you.